this computer. All right, and I'm going to share. And people are telling me, thank you, Mary Jo, that they're getting benefit from having these to listen to afterwards. So I appreciate that people find value even when they've already been present.
Mhm.
I'm disappointed,
Okay.
Rich.
Sorry,
That's what I
buddy.
said. It's kind of a recycle.
Sorry. That's like an old one. That's an old one. Marco's not here, that's why.
Oh, is that why? Now we know. All right.
Yeah, it's a rerun day.
You know what?
Okay, today's topic is rescue, overfunctioning, and boundary drift. What page in the binder are we?
33.
33. All right. I'm going to start, and then I'm going to ask you to follow. You do not have your binder, Mary
No.
Jo?
And when I downloaded it, it's saying page 26. So I'll just go with what it's the same heading.
Okay. When integrity is carried by people instead of the system. So module 1 establishes a crucial orientation. Integrity has begun to outgrow the individual container and is asking to be carried by the system itself. Module 2 names what typically appears at this moment of transition. When systems are not yet mature enough to carry integrity structurally, people compensate. They do this not out of weakness or bad intent, au contraire, but out of care, urgency, and responsibility. The compensation has a name for it in the psychoethical framework, and that name is
Rescue.
rescue. This module exists to help teams recognize rescue, overfunctioning, and boundary drift as signals, not sins, and to understand why these patterns must be addressed at the system level if integrity is to remain sustainable. Otherwise, we have terrible burnout. What rescue actually is and is not. In everyday language, rescue can sound positive, stepping up, being helpful, doing what it takes. These are all good things, right? Give me a thumbs up if we want people who do these, right? Well, in the psychoethical framework, rescue has more precise meaning. Rescue is taking responsibility without shared clarity, consent, or containment. Rescue is not laziness, incompetence, or lack of commitment. Rescue is what happens when roles are unclear in practice. Who has responsibility for what? Accountability feels risky to hold, or repair mechanisms are weak or avoided. People rescue because they care and because the system has no other way to respond. All right. Overfunctioning as a system pattern. Overfunctioning shows up in predictable ways. A few reliable people carry more than their share. Leaders step in to prevent delays or discomfort. Problems get fixed quietly rather than addressed openly. The system looks stable, but individuals feel strained. Give me a thumbs up if you think one or more of these are true at our dealerships. One or more. The pattern reflects a core psychoethical principle. Integrity is the bridge between inner work and outer behavior. Remember that one?
Yep.
When the outer structure does not fully support integrity, inner effort fills the gap. The gap cannot be closed by asking people to do less. It can only be closed by strengthening the system. Okay, so when people are doing more, it is representing a system weakness. Boundary drift, how it happens. Boundary drift rarely happens because someone decides to cross a line. It happens gradually through repeated moments like, I'll just handle this one. It's easier if I don't say anything. We don't have time to deal with that right now. Give me a thumbs up if you know that these are flying around in the dealership. Okay, over time, what happens with these repeated over time, exceptions become expectations. This is just how the process goes. Roles blur and accountability becomes uneven. This violates the foundation principle of psychoethical workplace. Boundaries protect connection. When boundaries erode, resentment and burnout replace trust, even in high-performing teams. Why rescue weakens accountability? Another core principle states accountability is love in action. Rescue often feels loving in the moment, right? But undermines accountability by shielding people from the impact of their role, preventing learning and growth, and relocating responsibility to the most capable person. Accountability cannot function where consequences are consistently absorbed elsewhere. This module helps teams seeing that holding accountable is not accountability is not punitive, it's an act of respect for the role, the person, and the system. The role of power in rescue dynamics. So what's one of our other principles?
Power is always in the
Always in the room.
Thank you. Rescue often travels along power lines. Managers rescuing team members. Experienced staff rescuing newer ones. Informal leaders rescuing the system itself. Whether named or not, these actions teach the system what is permitted, which leads directly to another principle. Culture is,
what we permit, protect, and practice.
and when rescue is repeatedly permitted, it becomes
Culture.
culture. Module 2 is governed explicitly by the workplace vows applied at the system level. Vow 1, I stay curious when I want to defend. Rescue often hides defensiveness, defending speed, defending reputation, defending comfort. This vow asks teams to get curious about why rescue feels necessary instead of justifying it. Imagine that, stopping to ask why. Vow 2, I speak directly, not in triangles. Rescue thrives in indirect systems, problems talked about, but not to the right role. Fixes applied without conversation. I'll just fix it. Tensions managed sideways. This vow calls for direct engagement with roles, not workaround behaviors. Vow 3, I tell the truth with care. Rescue replaces truth with action. Instead of saying, this role is overloaded, this process isn't working, this needs repair, people quietly compensate. This vow restores truth as the primary ethical response. Vow 4, I separate behavior from worth. The reason rescue persists is fear. Fear of making somebody look bad, fear of being unsupportive, fear of conflict. The vow reminds us, the system, that naming the behavior does not threaten dignity. Vow 5, I choose repair over righteousness. Rescue often avoids repair. It smooths outcomes, but leaves causes untouched. The vow reorients teams toward repairing systems, not just fixing results. What this module is asking teams to do, Module 2 does not ask people to stop caring or stop helping. This is the second time this has been said in this module, right? So what is it not asking people to do?
Stop caring or stop.
caring or helping.
Okay, last week, some people were hearing that the module was asking to stop caring or stop helping. So we want to reiterate that today. It asks something more precise. Who would like to read what it asks?
To notice where integrity is being carried by people instead of structure. To recognize rescue as a signal of system strain, and to prepare to shift from compensation to clarity.
So in this sense, compensation doesn't mean pay, it means compensatory action that's being used to bridge a gap. No changes are required. Recognition comes, no changes required yet. Recognition comes first. This module is not
a call out of high performers, a critique of leadership effort, or a demand for withdrawal. It is a diagnostic and developmental module, not a corrective one.
Thank you, Brian. All right, success at the end of module 2 means
Teams can name rescue without shame. Overfunctioning is recognized as the system signal. Boundaries are discussed openly rather than enforced silently, and there is a readiness for the next step. The next step is module 3, where the system is given explicit conversational structures to replace rescue with clarity, accountability, and repair.
And next module is very powerful on the conversations. So the closing frame, a psychoethical workplace is not one where people never rescue. It's one where rescue is noticed, named, and replaced with structures that allow integrity to rest where it belongs in the system itself. All right, some scenarios. Who would like to take the first one? Service manager. Tom?
Sure. One sec. Scenario 1. I'll just handle it so we don't miss CSI. What's happening? Joe notices a customer issue that could impact CSI scores. Instead of routing it through the normal escalation, we're letting Stephanie handle it. Joe steps in personally, calls the customer, authorizes a goodwill adjustment, and resolves the issue quickly. The customer is happy. Stephanie is relieved. No one talks about it afterwards. What this reveals, this is a classic rescue moment. The system avoided short-term discomfort, but the advisor didn't learn how to handle the situation. The process wasn't tested or improved, and the manager absorbed responsibility that didn't belong in their seat. Over time, this pattern trains the system to rely on intervention instead of capability. Core
Give me a
principles.
go ahead.
Core principles at play. Accountability is love in action. Accountability was bypassed, not strengthened. Boundaries boundaries protect connection. Role boundaries were crossed quietly. Culture is what we permit, protect, and practice. Rescue is being practiced. A Val lens to look through it. Where might curiosity replace automatic fixing, and what truth could have been spoken instead of stepping in?
Okay, is this a believable scenario?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. Scenario number 2. We need a parts manager.
Sam, you're hired.
Yeah, I was going to say I've been parts before. Everyone knows to go to her or him. In the parts department, there's one long tenured employee who knows everything. When inventory issues arise or orders go missing, people skip the formal process and go straight to him. He helps every time, never complains, and he's exhausted. What this reveals, this is overfunctioning as a system adaptation. The system appears to work because one person is compensating for unclear processes, gaps in training, or weak accountability. Let me go to the next page.
It's on the screen.
Thank you. Core principles of play. Integrity is the bridge between inner work and outer behavior. Boundaries protect connection. Overfunctioning erodes trust over time. Culture is what we permit, protect, and practice. Val lens. Where are we avoiding direct conversation with the system, and what repair would support both the person and the process?
All right, moving on. Let us have a volunteer from sales. Glenn?
Sure, I'll take this one. Scenario 3, the deal got closed. Now service has to figure it out. Sales closes a deal with promises about delivery, timing, and add-ons. Service later realizes the commitments are unrealistic given staffing and parts availability. Service scrambles to make it work. Sales moves to the next deal. No shared conversation happens. What this reveals, this is boundary drift between departments. Instead of shared accountability, one department absorbs the impact, another never sees the consequence, and tension becomes structural rather than relational. Core principles at play: clarity is kindness, vague promises create downstream harm, repair is a collective muscle, avoidance weakens trust, power is always in the room. Val lens. What are we speaking indirectly instead of directly? What would choosing repair over righteousness look like here?
Okay, is this a believable scenario for the dealership?
Oh, yes.
Yep.
Oh, yes. And I'm sorry, I didn't ask that with the parts one. Was that believable?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, scenario number 4. Who would like to volunteer for this? This is a non-identified
I'll take
department
it.
manager. Okay,
All right,
Frank.
scenario 4, the manager who covers the gaps. What's happening? A department manager routinely fills in when staffs are short, writing ROs, answering phones, even jumping into F&I paperwork when needed.
Small
They're
dealership.
They're praised for being hands-on. The team appreciates the help. Turnover continues. What this reveals, this is
Oops,
leadership over functioning. While it feels supportive, it prevents the system from addressing staffing or training issues. It blurs role boundaries, and it teaches the team that gaps will be absorbed. Core principles at play: power is always in the room. Leadership behavior sets norms. Accountability is love in action. Love includes letting the system learn. And boundaries protect connection. Val lens. Where is behavior being mistaken for worth? And what truth needs to be named about capacity or structure?
Now, I don't know if this sounds like a believable scenario to you, but I have actually had dealerships where it was.
Well, so
Tom?
some things recently left Scott a little shorthanded, and I wanted to say, well, it's no problem, Scott. You can always hop on the desk and write. And instead, what I said was, let's keep recruiting and think about staffing a little heavier so that we're prepared if something pops up like this again. And so
Great, Tom.
it's funny that this is the example because that was going to, it almost came out of my mouth and I caught myself.
Thank you for admitting to that moment. And
I
that
can
also happened.
I could talk about recently when we get busy and we have two finance managers and Bob steps in and gets everything approved and then hands it off. So it's a situation still happening at times here.
Okay, thank you, Frank. All right, and on to scenario 5.
We talked about it again. What's happening? The same issue comes up in multiple meetings, missed follow-ups, incomplete documentation, unclear handouts. There's discussion, there's agreement. Nothing structurally changes. People start rolling their eyes when it comes up again. What this reveals: this is repair avoidance through conversation without containment. Talking without follow-through creates cynicism. The system signals that issues will be discussed but not resolved. Core principles at play. Repair is a collective muscle. Repair requires action, not just talk. Culture is what we permit, protect, and practice, and clarity is kindness. And the vow lens is where are we choosing comfort over repair, and what would direct ownership look like here?
Anybody have any scenarios that they can say this names? This sounds familiar. Was that a sound from you, Mary Jo?
I'm just reading this again.
We've had a couple right person, right seat conversations that have been pushed off and pushed off and pushed off and pushed off. That's what this seems like to me. And then finally, we
Yeah,
address
I was
it.
going to say at some of our L10 meetings, yeah.
Yeah.
Number 6.
Number 6, the new hire who can't quite get it right. What's happening? A newer employee struggles with performance. Different people give different guidance. Some quietly fix mistakes to keep things moving. Feedback becomes vague. The employee feels confused. Frustration builds on all sides. What does this reveal? This is system ambiguity, not individual failure. Rescue replaces clarity. Behavior gets judged instead of supported structurally. Core principles at play. Everyone brings a history. Learning curves are real. Clarity is kindness. Integrity is the bridge between inner work and outer behavior. Vow lens. Where could curiosity replace judgment? Where does the system need clearer containment?
Okay, does that sound like any familiar scenarios? I see Tom nodding. I'm wondering, Frank, Brian, Len?
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought it might be.
It's everything we
Okay.
talked about today.
Yeah, we did. So Brian, I have an update that I have to circle back and give you, or Frank or Bob can give it to you.
Okay.
All right, Frank, you want to give it to?
Sure.
I did discuss with Bob. He has the same agreement. So would you
Okay.
please
Yes.
commit to doing that? All right, thank you. So now we're going to the pulse check. So we've got 2 things that are about you, and we're going to do the pulse check, and then we're going to go to the self-assessment. Everybody good with that? All right, the pulse check. How is the system holding integrity right now? This is a short pulse check, can be used periodically to sense whether rescue or overfunctioning are increasing or decreasing over time. So let's circle the option that feels most accurate right now. So each one of you thinking of your area of locus of control, as we call it, like your department, what you're most focused on. So number 1, how problems get handled. Issues are usually addressed at the right role or process level. Issues often get fixed quietly by capable people. And the third option, issues are smoothed over to keep things moving. The principal lens for this is culture is what we permit, protect, and practice. And remember, we're all going to report in after we finish this. Number 2, who carries the load? The work is mostly carried by the roles designed to carry it, designed and assigned. Few people regularly carry more than their share, and the same people always step in when things break. Boundaries protect connection. All right, next one. Accountability. Accountability feels clear and consistent. Accountability depends on who is involved. Accountability often gets absorbed or softened. Principal lens, accountability is love in action. Directness. Issues are usually named directly and early. Some issues are named, others wait. Many issues are talked about indirectly. Lens, vowel lens, I speak directly, not in triangles. Repair, breakdowns are named and addressed. Things are smoothed over and people move on. Tension lingers or resurfaces later. Vowel lens, I choose repair over righteousness. 6, personal orientation is optional. And you can complete silently. One place where I notice rescue or overfunctioning right now is. Make a note for yourself. So closing reminder, a psychoethical workplace is not one where rescue never happens. It's one where rescue is noticed, named, and replaced with a better structure. Pulse check is not a score, this is information. Okay, so let's check in with our pulse check. What did you learn with this pulse check? Where did you find yourself most often?
So I found, so for 1 and 2, I put Scranton and Stroudsburg at different places.
Okay.
Where Scranton is between 1 and 2, and Stroudsburg between 2 and 3 on the first one. Same for number 2. And for accountability, I put both stores between 1 and 2. With directness, I put both stores together at 2. And for repair, I put both stores at 2 to 3. And kind of, I have an asterisk. It's kind of a caveat where I think it depends on who's involved.
Okay, thank you. Thoughtful. Thank you for starting. Who's going to follow that?
For our sales department, how problems get handled, we're usually between 1 and 2. Who carries the load? We're usually between 1 and 2. Accountability between 1 and 2. Directness, I would say 90% 1. And then repair, we can be all over the board with this.
Okay, so your growth opportunity. Thank you. Next.
How problems get handled? I say 1. Wait 1 minute. I just have a
For the areas you're involved in.
Yep. Who carries the load? Between 1 and 2. Accountability, 2. Directness, 2. And let me see. Sorry. Repair between 1 and 2.
Okay. Thank you, Mary Jo.
You're welcome.
So for Stroudsburg sales, I have us in the middle again on pretty much all of them. But I will say this, I think, I think we're moving more towards 1 than we are towards 3 for the first time in a long time. With the managers meetings with me, Brian, Bob, and the other managers, and then the relationship we're building with sales over one-on-ones. I think we're leaning towards 1 rather than leaning back towards 3.
Great way to look at it. Thank you, Frank. Other viewing points.
I'll go.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1, how problems get handled. I think we're pretty good at that. Say 1. Who carries the load? I'll say 1 and 2. Accountability is between 1 and 2. Directness, 1 and 2, and repair. It's all over the board.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Sam and Brian, do you have an area you want to focus that you want to speak to? And same thing, Pat Gallagher?
Yeah, I was trying to do that. I'm sorry, Sam. Go ahead if you're ready.
I was umming to think, so you can go.
I'll give you time. Okay, I thought we were on the same page
Yeah.
then. And then I thought I was being rude.
You're good.
Yeah, I was kind of trying to think about that as well. But so I kind of just went with overall, I put us really between 1 and 2 on most of these things.
Mhm.
I don't find anything that are a three. I think that, I think directness, I think is my opinion. I think our organization's largest strength is that we are pretty direct about the issue, in our meetings.
Mhm.
Or maybe that's just me. But and I think we're pretty good at repair as well. I think that those are our strong suits personally.
Great, great. And historically, that's been areas of a lot of work. Thank you. Sam?
I was on the same page as Brian. I was sort of between one and two on most things. I do think for number two, I think especially among the people in this group, we tend to have a few people who regularly carry more than their share.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's inevitable in a organization in some capacity.
Hmm.
But I think there's a reason why certain people who are, on this meeting are people who also regularly carry more than their share. But I think it's important to be able to, let go of that in some capacity to grow as an organization.
Yeah, that's the yes and. Yes, that is true.
Yes.
And we want the system
So
to
it's
start.
not inherently an issue until you want to move on to something else.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Pat Gallagher, you want to weigh in?
I mean, I'm kind of in that same boat. I think there's a lot of 1-2s right there. I think just from my perspective, it looks like everybody's pushing. Every department seems to be pushing a lot more towards the ones, but you
Mhm.
do have that occasional slippage, and that's you notice that during high pressure type scenarios where things might get a little bit overwhelming. It's kind of amazing to see. Like if this were RASP a few years ago, it's a completely different answer, 100%.
Yes. Thank you.
Agree.
Pat Rogers.
Yeah, I think I'm looking at the how problems get handled from a leadership team. I think we do a great job of calling each other out when we're in a meeting and something is assigned, and someone will say, well, you shouldn't be doing that. They should be doing that. Or is this person should be doing it, not you? Is that really your role? We're very direct with each other on that. So I think we do a great job there. And again, that ties into directness as well with naming issues. There's no shyness in the room with calling out controversial issues. Now we might table it for the next week, but at least we're calling them out and we are putting it on the table and up on the screen, so we know what has to get addressed. Accountability, I think we have a little bit to go there in carrying the load. Again, there's more high performers here, and I think that there are more people carrying more than their share than we should probably have in the organization. So we should pay attention to that.
Okay, thank you. All right, everybody, on to the self-assessment. So this is meant for you to reflect and perhaps bring to a one-on-one next week or your L10 meeting or anywhere else that might be worth dialogue. So it's not about a performance evaluation. It's not collected as a private tool for noticing where integrity is being carried by people instead of structure. So integrity is the bridge between inner work and outer behavior. So here are some of the things to reflect on. One, noticing rescue. Where do I notice problems getting fixed without being discussed? Where do issues tend to disappear temporarily only to return later? Who seems to be the go-to person when things break down? Core principles and focus. Culture is what we permit, protect, and practice. Accountability is love and action. And that's an opportunity just to reflect on those core principles and where you are with them. Overfunctioning. Where do I see people, including me, carrying more than their role technically owns? Where does helping feel necessary to keep things moving, but also tiring? Where might the system be relying on effort instead of clarity? So boundaries protect connection. Integrity is the bridge between inner work and outer behavior. Section 3, boundary drift. Where do role boundaries feel clear and respected? Where do boundaries seem flexible depending on the urgency or who is involved? Where does just this once seem to happen repeatedly? I'm really hoping we can start naming some of these and get them covered in the system. Core principle of focus, clarity is kindness. Section 4, power and accountability. Where do I notice power being used to stabilize the system? Where does power get used to smooth things over instead of addressing the root issues? And where does accountability feel fair and developmental? Where does it feel uneven and absorbed? Core principles and focus: power is always in the room. Accountability is love in action. Section 5, the 5 workplace vow system lens. Vow 1, I stay curious when I want to defend. Where do I feel defensive when the system is named, when the system strain is named? Vow 2, I speak directly, not in triangles. Where do problems get talked about indirectly instead of addressed at the right level? Vow 3, I tell the truth with care. Where might truth be delayed to avoid discomfort? Section 6, readiness. One place where the system might benefit from less rescue and more structure is. Closing reflection. Rescue is not a moral failure. It is a signal that integrity is ready to be carried by the system. Awareness comes before redesign. Naming comes before repair. So those of you who have other team members that you work with who are in this training, I would encourage you to participate together in the dialogue. Share your worksheets. Frank, I'm thinking of you and Nick and Michelle. Bring him along. Len, Jake and Scott, just get them along. Tom, you and Joe, and the rest of you can think of who you would be best, who you would be able to support in sharing this so we can get more dialogue going. Because eventually we're going to be looking at what kind of system repair do we need so this stops happening. So I will ask the wrap-up question, which is, what are you going to take away from this conversation today? What is sticky? What did it bring to mind that you're kind of reflecting on?
So I wrote something down here that, like, in my past thoughts, rescue always equaled opportunity. Yeah.
Interesting.
The opportunity, if something needed to be rescued, is an opportunity to step up, to learn something more, to gain experience. But you get to a point where I get to a point where I can't grow anymore because the company's not growing anymore because of consistent need for rescue. So it then responsibilities need to be split apart, boundaries need to be kept. Everyone else grows, the company grows, and the opportunity for myself to grow grows.
I really like that. I have to say I identify with seeing rescues as opportunity. That's certainly something that rings true for me too. Thank you for naming that. Next. Yeah.
So I have my own thought, but hearing what Len said reminded me a couple months back with Chris in the Stroudsburg Collision Center. We kind of reached a plateau of what we could do because of staffing levels. And he had some trouble letting go and bringing an estimator on board because he was enjoying at times being the guy to handle everything. And it took kind of,
I remember that.
He was saying, it took me explaining to him in a way of, by putting all of this on your shoulders, you are hurting your own growth by hurting the company's growth, and framed it in a different way so that he could see that yes, it's great that you are the superhero and you're slowly hurting yourself and the store. And so that landed a little bit differently. But where I'm wondering is around boundary drift, especially where does just once seem to happen repeatedly, and how can I have firm boundaries and not be a rigid person to work with is the question I'm asking myself. I like process and rules, and sometimes that rigidity doesn't serve me well. And I'm also an all or nothing person, so I struggle with just this one time and me, turning into me always coming to the rescue or whatever the case is. So how can both of those things exist together is where I'm in reflection.
Okay, great ways to extend the thoughts. Thank you.
So I often talk about skills that I have at home that I have trouble bringing to work. This is a detriment that I have at home that I often bring to work. At home, I'm the rescuer. Whether it's my own parents that me and my sister probably do more for, or we play the parent role in, or just things around the house that my wife can't handle. I'm just all right, let me fix it and get it done so that it's done. rather than actually build a system where it doesn't keep happening again. So it's clear to me that this probably happens at work too, and something that I'm going to spend a lot of time on, but this has always been my role, so it's kind of just second nature to me and needs to be worked on.
So you're back to what Len said about rescue equals opportunity. Yeah, here I can show up. Captain Hero.
I have to agree with both. Frank, that's been me probably my whole life. My grandfather's shop. Coming out when I was first started in IT, like to go to Len's point, everything was an opportunity. Hey, I could take that absolutely. And before I knew it, within a couple of years, I was burnt to a crisp. So, but it's I've always kind of kept climbing, so I kept taking it as a positive, and I'm seeing it more often now. That positive is not worth the impact across the board to health or to the company at large. So
A system weakness. Yeah.
a lot to pack away there.
Thank you.
I like structure and I like stability, and I like it in my home and I like it at work, and I struggle with it. And so when I hear the phrase structure carries integrity, I'm like, sometimes I had to look that up and see, like I've been Googling it and trying to figure out what that exactly means. And I guess it means what we are doing and studying here. And that's so, as like, I want to see how this unfolds. And I'm not really sure where my role comes in here. So when I'm not sure where my role is, I tend to it kicks something in my nervous system, right? And so I get like, oh. So I'm just trying to learn as much as I can and remain calm.
Thank you, and remain calm.
And
The queen would be happy. Yes, the queen would be happy. Thank you. All right. Who remains?
I'll go. Talk about the whole rescue thing, and it's a positive when you see people helping each other out and people stepping in and getting it done for the CXI or the customer. But the backside is that kind of struck me. What you're looking for here when you see this happen, that there's signals of areas of drag in your day where you're not able to move forward. And I think it helped me looking at this to recognize where that drag is and where we're focusing on things that are taken away from our ability to progress and to really lead the company forward. Where I would look at these before this module and say, it's great. Everybody's helping out, everybody's stepping in, and that's the go-to person and whatnot. And I know I mentioned a couple weeks ago, I've never worked in an organization where there's so many people I can go to and just you ask them to do something or give them a situation or a problem and they're going to fix it. You don't have to go back and follow up with them on that. So I need to pay more attention to who I'm giving that to and who I'm putting that on and making sure it is within their rules and within the boundaries that they're not just saying yes because I asked them, they're saying yes because it is the right role for them at the time.
Great reflection. Thank you.
My takeaway is the importance of, I think Len and TK, early sort of were moving in the same direction that I was thinking, where the best way to grow the organization is to grow the pie, the whole pie, and part of growing the whole pie is not over functioning and focusing on stuff that is not, the most valuable use of our energy. So for people in this meeting at a higher level, for us to grow as an organization, which hopefully in the future means adding more stores, other opportunities, it's important for us to not get bogged down with over functioning in any specific place. There was my dad always tells me a story of he met this guy who owns a very successful dealership group in the Northeast in like New York, Connecticut area, and he, operated his business on the assumption that 80% of the next store was better than getting to 100% of any individual store. And while, he has 20 something stores, so it's easier for them to say that, but that's sort of what I mean by growing the pie. The best thing for the organization at some point is to grow the whole organization rather than, maximize every single detail to 100%. Because eventually that's what causes burnout, and makes people tired and overburdened. So being able to direct that energy into the most appropriate area is, incumbent on all of us to keep the group moving forward.
Thank you, Sam.
That was
Pretty
great.
good for 2 hours of sleep.
I'll go. I was thinking about the meeting last week. I felt very attacked by the topic, right? And I shared that with Tom and Sam and Bob as I was going through the week. And I felt I had a lot of reflection about it. And I was thinking about while others were talking, it's like, today, for instance, the lot needed to be plowed and cars needed to be shoveled. It's like if I was up there and I was in the building, I would have been out there shoveling with the guys, right? But instead, like I checked like all kinds of stuff that's been sitting on my to-do list off that has been sitting for a while because no one's really around. The whole Northeast took it as a snow day, so it's like hard to get a hold of some of the people I got to communicate with. But what it allowed me to do is kind of reflect on what are 5 or 6 things I can complete this hour that are been hanging because I've been, metaphorically speaking, shoveling the lot on a day-to-day basis. And like that's what I was thinking about while we were talking. And it's like
Yeah,
it's
great metaphor.
my love language is acts of service, right? I may not tell
Mhm.
you what I think, but I will show up at your door with a plate of food and you didn't even know that I cared about you, right? So that's who I am and sometimes I struggle with what that's supposed to look like for the long term.
Got it. Thank you. Well said. Rich, I think you're last man standing
Let's go.
or sitting.
Yeah, so reviewing all this, my takeaway is the post check, the 5 bullet points, top 3, I'm going to really focus in on. Culture, boundaries, and accountability with myself to make sure I'm doing everything best I could do. And then relay that to the team, and hopefully we can have situations where we won't be on the bottom there. At the number 1, the top of them. All those can be handled in a timely manner, and that's my goal.
All right. Thank you, Rich.
Yes,
Well,
ma'am.
thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for showing up today. Was the content a little easier to move into today
Yeah.
than last week? It kind of making more sense. All right. And next week, I guarantee when we get into the 5 conversations, it'll make even more sense. So yeah, we're trying to find the places where people are carrying the system gaps so we can build, as everybody said, a stronger future.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Have a great week. Let's hope we
Thank
don't
you,
have more
too.
snow.
Yeah,
No.
you gotta get
It's
more.
snowing at my house right now.
Just
Yeah.
win.
Thank you. And Sam told me to get an electric shovel, and I'm going to tell Sam to get an electric blanket.
Yes.
That is a must-have, Sam. Amazon.com, electric blanket. You will never be cold again. Thank you.
Thank
They're
you.
portable heating pads and electric
Yeah.
blankets.
Sounds nice.
All good.